speak on historic preservation, and you mentioned it's one of the hot issues. It's because it affects so many people. So many people are affected by historic preservation. And it's interesting that so many people can be affected even though they didn't vote for it. For example, over in Glenbrook Valley, only 45% of the community wanted the historic preservation.
Respectfully, this is a Heights meeting, in case you got lost.
Well, it's historic preservation. Yeah. No, that's okay. Historic preservation. But it's a good example. Glenbrook Valley, only 45% of the neighborhood wanted it. Yet, City Council and yourself voted that it should be deemed historic. And that's a small number. It's actually, of course, less than 50%. It was 51% initially. Then it went up to 67% that would be required to be deemed historic. Would you consider reevaluating Glenbrook Valley? I know there's others, but with just 45%, would you consider reevaluating that and bringing that back to council and perhaps going with the 67% requirement?
No, and I actually had a town hall meeting with Glenbrook Valley last week where we talked about this.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
The full council has voted, and it is now in ordinance.
Hi, I'm Mary Wasp, and I attended that meeting down in Glenbrook Valley. And a gentleman asked why exactly what was mentioned, why it was voted in when there was less than a majority. And the answer was that it's really up to council and not to the neighborhood. The East and the West District in the Heights were voted on also and were not passed. Yet the historic district is still being enforced in those neighborhoods. The quote that I heard after that vote was that you and Councilmember Gonzalez felt that that was what was best for the neighborhood. So my question is, if the vote of the people doesn't count and the vote of council doesn't count, whose vote does count, and how exactly are these historic districts determined?
The historic districts are determined by a vote of council in creating the ordinance. When we created the ordinance, there was a mechanism to reevaluate existing council districts. We have followed all of the dictates of the ordinance. There was a recommendation brought forward from Marley Gafford to the full council that the two districts she referenced had no amendments to their borders or boundaries. There is no, it would be nice to have council support it, but there is no requirement for further action.